Okay, for a concluding example, let's try a variation on the BAST program. 2 years after the voters enacted BAST, the legislature learns that the goals of the program are not being realized. Some cities are giving homeowners ornamental trees that do not provide a lot of shade and bikes that aren't sturdy enough to be used daily. The legislature passes a law requiring cities to offer more expensive, larger trees and bikes built with a higher grade of metal. Neither of these requirements were in the measure approved by the voters. Are city costs to implement these requirements a state reimbursable mandate? Well, let's for a final time look at our summary slide and go through it step by step, starting with the 2 threshold criterion for a reimbursable mandate. Was this BAST follow-up measure freely imposed by state government? Yes. BAST was imposed by the voters, but this follow-up measure was a separate, voluntary action by the legislature. How about the second criterion? Does it require local agencies to pay for a new governmental program or higher level of service or share of cost? Yes, this is clear. There would be new governmental activities providing different and more expensive trees and different bikes. So we'll check that one. Next, let's look at the exemptions. Remembering that any one of these exemptions apply, then the measure is not a reimbursable mandate. Was the measure created before 1975? No. Was it enacted upon local request? No. Does it define a crime or penalty? No. Is it voluntary? No, it is not. We'll eliminate this exemption from the screen as well. Is it possible to pay for with fees, related savings, or designated state funds? No. Was it imposed on a type of agency that never levied a property tax? No, cities have long levied a property tax. Was it established by state government to implement a voter-approved or federal requirement? Well, yes. What the legislature was trying to do was simply give life to a voter-approved measure. That is, the legislature saw an implementation issue that needed to be addressed to fulfill the goals of BAST. Thus, the BAST follow-up measure would not be a state reimbursable mandate because it was enacted to implement a voter-approved measure. Okay, if you've worked through this presentation and our earlier overview presentation on mandates, you should have a reasonable grounding in mandate law. Over time, however, you're likely to have questions about how this law applies in certain other situations. Where can you find additional information? Well, if you work for a public agency, your counsel would be the best place to start. For members of the legislature and their staff, this would be legislative counsel. Should you have a general mandate question, such as how the Commission on State Mandates ruled in a previous matter, you can contact them for information. The Commission is hesitant, however, to talk about a specific bill or matter pending before the Commission. Finally, if your question would benefit from the thinking of a non-lawyer, you can contact the Legislative Analyst Office. Marianne O'Malley is the point person on general mandates, and Paul Warren is our point person on education mandates. We hope this slideshow has been helpful to you in sorting out the requirements of the Constitution's mandate reimbursement provisions. If you have questions, comments, or want us to elaborate on any of these points, please let us know and send us an email